Okay, here's our video on exponents with negative bases. So let's look at some rules here. Let's say we had a base of -5, and I put an exponent, let's put 3. So keep this in mind. Anytime you don't see parentheses, if you just see -5 or -4, whatever the number is, if you just see a negative and no parentheses, the answer will always be negative. Always. Always be negative. Use that sign for negative. If you see parentheses, it'll either be negative or positive depending on the exponent. If it's an even exponent, it'll be positive. If it's a negative exponent, if it was an odd exponent, it'll be negative. Okay? So, what do you think this answer would be? Let's say I had 7 to the 4th power. Now, the base isn't negative, so you know it's positive. But if it was -7 to the 4th power, what will the answer be? Will the answer be a negative number or a positive number? There's no parentheses, so it will always be negative. Okay, let's try this now. What if I had parentheses, -7 to the 4th power? Will the answer be negative or positive? Look at the exponent. It's even. If it's even, the exponent's even, it will always be positive. So keep that in mind. Okay? When we do problems. Let's do a problem here. Get that out of the way. Okay. So here we have a -3 in parentheses to the 3rd power times 3 to the 5th power. So they have the same base. Well, one's negative, but we're going to use an answer of 3. We know we're going to have 3 as an answer. And we're going to have 8 as an exponent. But is it negative or positive, the answer? So this is the way we should look at it. Look at the number here. Will this answer be negative or positive? Just this right here. Circle that right there. Well, -3 in parentheses to the 3rd power will be a negative answer because the exponent's odd. So we know that's negative, and we know if it has a positive base, it's positive. So we know in multiplication a negative times a positive is a negative. So this answer will be a negative. It's going to be a negative answer. So now we can write it either this way, which is wrong, or this way. We should write it this way because we want to have a negative answer. If I write it this way, the answer will be positive because, again, remember, it has an even exponent. We'll do a few more so you get used to it. Let's bring it up here. What if I had, in parentheses, -4 to the 5th power times 4 to the 6th power? Well, we know we're going to use a 4 as a base, and we're going to add the exponents. Now we just don't know if it's going to be negative or positive. And if it's negative, we don't know if it's going to be in parentheses. Well, we know this answer right here, 4 to the 6th power is positive. -4 in parentheses to the 5th power, since the exponent's odd, the answer is going to be odd. The answer is going to be negative. And a negative times a positive is a negative. That'll be the answer. Okay, what about this? Try this. What do you think this answer will be? We can do one at a time. We know if we look at this, in parentheses, a -5 to the 4th power is going to be positive. And we know that's positive, and that's positive, so our answer will be positive. So let's figure out what we should use. Well, we know we have all 5s, so we can use a 5. And we can just add the exponents here. 5 to the 14th power. By the way, 5 to the 14th power and -5 to the 14th power is the same thing. Why is it the same thing? Same thing because it has a positive, or has an even exponent. And you know if you have a negative base with an even exponent, your answer will be positive. So these two are actually the same answer. Okay, let's keep doing some so you get used to this. So over here, we have a -3 to the 4th power times 3 to the 3rd power. Now, why did I use -3 to the 7th power? Well, we know we're going to use a 3. and we add the exponents, we get 7. And we know that this answer right here is always going to be negative because there's no parentheses. So our answer has to be negative. Now, a negative 3 to the 7th power and parentheses negative 3 to the 7th power are the same, so you wouldn't get points off. Now, why are they the same? In parentheses, if you have an odd exponent, the answer will be negative. So these two numbers are the same. Look at these. Why is it 3 to the 7th power? This answer right here we know is positive because it has an even exponent. Positive times a positive is a positive. So we're going to use 3 to the 7th power. Now if we used a negative 3 to the 7th power, that would be negative because it has an odd exponent. So we can't use that. Okay? So let's make sure we understand which ones to use. Negative 4 to the 5th power, is that positive or negative? It's in parentheses. Will the answer be negative? Of course, the answer will be negative because look at the exponent. It's odd, so this answer will be negative. What about this answer? Even exponent. The answer will be positive. So look for the exponents. So, we know that both these questions here, a negative 4 to the 4th power, in parentheses, we know the answer is going to be positive because it has an even exponent. This answer also is going to be positive because it has an even exponent. And we know that negative 4 to the 6th power is going to give us a positive answer. And negative 4 in parentheses to the 6th power is the same as 4 to the 6th power. So they're the same thing because they both give us a positive answer. Now we know this is not the answer because that will give us a negative. And we don't want that. Okay, what about this answer? What do you think that is? Well, again, do it one at a time. We know that this answer right here is going to be negative. And why is that? Because there's no parentheses, and if you have no parentheses on a negative base, it's always negative. We know that this one has a negative 4, but it's in parentheses, and the exponent is even, so this will be positive, but a negative times a positive is a negative. So we know we have to use a negative 4. Now, let's be careful. We know the answer is to the 8th power. So do we keep it like that? So I'll give you two options. Should we keep it like this, or should we keep it like this? So ask yourself, what answer are you trying to get? Are you trying to get a positive answer or a negative answer? Trying to get a negative answer. And if you did this one, you would be right, because this will give us a negative answer. This will give us a positive answer, because remember, it has a even exponent. Okay? Let's try one more. Okay, bring that up. What if I had, we'll use 5. Let's say I had a negative 5 to the 4th power times a negative 5 to the 3rd power. So now that there's no parentheses here, what should the answer be? So we know we're using a 5, and we're going to add the exponents, but is it negative or positive? So look at this answer here. There's no parentheses, so it will always be negative. No parentheses, it'll always be negative. What's a negative times a negative, though? A negative times a negative is a positive. We need to get a positive answer. So what do you think the answer is? It's right there. 5 to the 7th power. If we put a negative 5 to the 7th power, that gives us a negative answer. But we don't want a negative answer. We want a positive answer. And if I put it in closed parentheses, we still get a negative answer. Because remember, the exponent is odd. So the best way to solve these problems is see what answer you would get, negative or positive, for each one, and see what the final answer would be. Okay? Great job.